button. There we are. And so if I may move to the students. So if Precious, would you like to ask your question, please?
Thank you very much, Laura. I asked my question already to Lauren, but maybe I could ask something else.
Of course, yeah.
Okay, thank you, everyone. My question is, how do you get new members to join Memorabilia?
Well, I can see Wayne's face there. It has been so difficult. We've had a few, I'll say non-starters. I won't go into details, of course, but recently Rick's joined us with Memorabilia, but before then, really just the two of us. We go to great lengths to try and get people interested, and in Medway there is a lot of people with early dementia, but we just can't wrap up and get a business together. It just doesn't happen. I'm not sure if they don't feel the fire in the belly anymore, or they're not that sort of person. I don't know what it is, but really people with dementia, it's only Wayne and I really. There is a few more in other counties, but up and down the country, as Wayne said earlier, there's 10 or 20 people that are activists like we are. So if you've got any ideas, so Precious, I'd welcome them.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was helpful. Yeah, I got some ideas, and I think as students in dementia studies in the University of West London, we are being trained with we are being trained to be able to be innovative, to come up with problems to issues, and I think it's obvious now that we have taken it as upon ourselves, because it's an obvious problem that it's getting members and getting people to be aware of what good can come out from this, because it's really been interesting hearing directly from you guys. I really see it as the greatest opportunity in this module at the moment, because it's been really helpful hearing from you guys. So I think I have a thing or two to suggest, and maybe as a class we can still look at it and as a group, and then we might brainstorm and get back to you as well. But I feel because of the issues of transportation and stress from the day, and people having their own time, that they feel okay to carry out the activities. I feel maybe most of the activities can be online instead of in person, and meetings like this can be held online. And but then it's just an instant spinal reflex thought as you were talking. But I'm glad that I'm able to understand and appreciate from your point of view that there is a problem, and we will see how it can be resolved. But thank you very much. It's been helpful.
Well, thank you, Precious, for giving that wonderful feedback. Really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, thank you, both of you. And I'd like to go to Wayne.
Several comments on exactly what Precious has been talking about there. As Lorraine says, we have tried so very hard, not only as the original Memorabilia, where we, I think, had about 12 members with dementia at peak time, but it was tailing off and off, and it got to the point probably about 4 or 5 years ago where there was only 4 of us out of 10 that were capable of still doing this kind of thing. And There we go. You see, Lorraine's got a picture there of one of the earlier stages. So, you know, you can see there's quite a group of people there. But the unfortunate nature of the beast in dementia is that we are only capable for a short window of time, as I said, without ego tripping or whatever. Lorraine and I have been very, very lucky to be part of what we sometimes call the elite group, that we are still capable of this long-term and high-level communication. But most people, they come in and very, very quickly, they are no longer capable. And the trouble with campaigning or activism or that sort of thing, you're dealing with company decision makers, and it is no good having somebody on there. This is going to sound terrible, but the stereotypical picture of somebody with dementia, they're sitting there in a chair, half slumped over, dribbling down the side of their face, not really saying anything, not really knowing what's going on. That's not going to convince a company executive that they should change their policies. So we have to have people that are bright and alert and able to communicate. And so the lifetime of somebody as an activist can be very, very short. Also, there's the other problems that if they're that active and alert and bright, they don't want to be coming and sitting around and holding meetings with other people that aren't. They're off living their lives and having a great time. So they don't tend to join memorabilia type groups. They don't tend to join any groups because they don't need them until later. And by later, it's too late to do the things that we need them to be doing. So it really is a weird state of play. And when we as memorabilia left the original memorabilia because they weren't really, it had been 2 years and we hadn't actively done anything, so we left to do Medway things. 5 of us left, and as Lorraine says, now there's really only the 2 of us as people with dementia that are still active enough. And we've brought Rick in from the carers side to give the other side of the equation. We can't find more people. And one more bit, then I'll shut up for a moment. We've been asked only this week if we will do some radio and TV interviews all about memorabilia. And of course, I saw this and I thought, oh, crikey, what are we going to say about memorabilia? It almost doesn't exist anymore. Yes, we do this sort of thing, but, you know, they want to come in and start filming things. Well, there isn't really anything to film, and how can you come and film a meeting that doesn't have people at it? You know, so we're in a very weird situation right at this moment. So if you can come up with ideas of how do we get new people to join, we'll grab them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wayne. Thank you.
Oh, that's lovely. What a lovely conversation, and also very positive one. And well done, Precious, for thinking of using our classroom as a way of supporting memorabilia, as memorabilia is supporting us in providing this amazing session today, and we can give back as well, and see if we can create some ideas. I'm sure that Lorraine and Wayne and Rick have come up with many ideas already, but if we can just be an extra, even if it's just one small idea that that memorabilia can then sort of you know, make it come for fruition, that would be really great. So thank you for that. What a great idea. And we will certainly find time to do that, Precious. I will make sure of it. So
Thank you, Laura.
Brilliant. Does anybody else want to ask a question? So I think, Eleanor, I think you've already asked your question, haven't you? Because it was about employment. So you've already asked Lorraine about her experience. Did you have anything further to add?
So this asked Lorraine. She shared her experience with us, but moving forward with that from about diagnosis, maybe I would like to ask Wayne and Lorraine this question. What can we do to encourage people to come forward for diagnosis? Because now in the WHO and Alzheimer's Association, we do read that the encouragement for people for early diagnosis than to get help earlier. Thank you.
That's lovely. Thank you very much, Eleanor. I'm going to come to Wayne first, if I may, and then Lorraine, if that's all right.
Could I just say, and this isn't meant out of any kind of disrespect, Laura, or trying to, what is it, teach new tricks or whatever, but my capability to remember what I was going to say is better than Lorraine's capability to remember what she was going to say, so Lorraine should take priority.
Sure, yeah, and that was why I was asking if that was all right. That's because I didn't want to be disrespectful, but obviously mindful of those limitations. Lorraine, do you need the question asking again?
I do. Thank you.
Eleanor was asking what more we can do to get people to come forward if they think they have dementia, so that, because the idea is that governments and policies are trying to get people to be diagnosed early with dementia. So what, and Eleanor's question was, what more can we do to get people to come forward to get an early diagnosis?
I think, in my opinion, Eleanor, that if you're suspecting you've got some cognitive decline or whatever it is, it could be depression, anxiety, it could be dementia, that they go and seek professional help. It's a very difficult one for me to answer, because when all this was going on with me, I actually thought it was depression and anxiety. And with the NHS, they sent me on I think it was a 6-week counselling experience of what the problems were I was experiencing personally at home. I think anyone of any age, if they're having these kind of problems, I think really, I know it's very difficult in the NHS to get a neurology appointment or a psychiatrist just to hear you out. And they might have markers that might think, oh, I think we best to go investigate further than this. It's such a fine line between depression and dementia, and you don't want to label someone with dementia, because especially for younger ones, it has devastating consequences. So you've got to get it right. You've got to get it right. Over to Wayne.
Yeah, I would. I will say 4 big words, and then we can sort of discuss that. The answer to the question is massive investment in education. And I mean massive. The reason particularly younger people will not come forward is because they fear and do not understand what is dementia. What does it mean? What will be the consequences on my life? And kind of doing this ego tripping bit, the Dementia Hub that I run here and has now run massively successfully for 2 years has educated people beyond belief. I now have some people that they are so well versed in dementia now. When professionals come in, they're almost afraid to give a speech because they know the people they're talking to know more about it than they do, you see. We had a guy come to do a friend's session and he was actually worried about what to say, what to ask, because every time he asked a question, he was getting massively detailed answers. He would sort of say, does anybody know how many types of dementia there are? And back would come the answer, over 400. You know, and then they're blown away by the level of knowledge of these ordinary members of the public sitting there in front of him. And that's because for years and years, I've learned that the signposting, the education, the awareness, the availability of information for people about dementia, right from the moment of diagnosis. They give you a carrier bag full of all these leaflets and things like that, which you're not going to read because it's half the Amazon rainforest there. But there's no real proper education, no real awareness. And I'm going to almost pick on Rick, because Rick, over the year or so, has become a member of the hub here. And So his level of understanding and knowledge has grown because of that. But, you know, he's lucky. Our can't think of the word, our influence, our sphere of influence has grown now across the whole of Medway. It used to be quite local. It's now across the whole of Medway, but we're also known by professionals across the whole of Kent. So it's still growing. It shouldn't be like that. You should be able to go locally, you know, locally to your doctor's surgery or whatever, and get this massive amount of information. But you can't. So people still, even in this day and age, they hear the word dementia on the TV news, on the radio, they read it in the paper, and the papers, Lorraine will probably bring up later about the Times and the New Statesman and all this sort of thing, where they've interviewed her about the reality of living with dementia. But most of them don't care about the reality of living with dementia. They want to show people with old looking hands that are sitting there and it's all about fear. So, you know, if you have absolute fear of something and you sort of think, oh, maybe I've got that, you're not going to go rushing down to doctors to have it confirmed, are you? You're going to hide it. So massive education, that's the answer. And you're the beginning of that. You guys are the beginning of that.
Okay, but I must end it by saying that Wayne and Lorraine, both of you, definitely do not look like someone with dementia, and you shared so well, spoke so well. Yes, hoping that after this course we can move forward and do something. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eleanor. Thank you.
Brilliant.
Yeah, thank you, Eleanor. That's lovely. Yeah, and that's the lovely thing with students on our course, and particularly with the 4 students we have here, is that they are very motivated to make improvements and changes for the future. So well, and for current now, so for anything they're doing, because some of the students are working or volunteering in dementia care services or whatever. So yeah, thank you for that. April, would you like to ask your question? Oh, April, we can't hear you. Don't know why.
Hello.
Yes.
I want to ask Rick, because you help the people with dementia, and some of time do you need any support or emotional support for you?
Well, I'm going to have to discuss this with Wayne and Lorraine, see if I can get extra help, because I do struggle at times emotionally. So I'll be looking forward to seeing someone that I can talk to and get advice from. So yeah.
Rick, sorry, Wayne.
One of the sort of talking about emotional support or whatever, something that I'll explain a bit more. Whenever you're giving a talk, it is obviously, and we want and need to be doing this, so thank you very much for giving us the opportunity. But obviously it is kind of going back and highlighting your weaknesses, highlighting the things you can't do, highlighting that you've got dementia, and it makes you at that time obviously that bit more aware of not only limitations, but it makes you kind of focus a bit more on the coming future. And I'll come back to Lorraine again in a moment, but when I'm there at the hub and I've got this room full of people and I'm talking to these people about me and my personal experiences, that can be quite emotionally draining. But also I'm seeing in front of me my future. I'm seeing these people with dementia that are far more advanced than me. So it's being kind of driven in, and that can be quite devastating at times, quite hard. And then when I'm giving a talk and I'm talking about dementia is progressive and terminal, you are going to die of this disease, you know, and
Yeah.
if you do well, you might get 20 years, because we used to do talks in hospitals, as you kind of saw a glimpse of Lorraine's video, doing talks in hospitals, and the dementia lead nurse there used to say about, well, it's not that short, some people can survive for 20 years. And there's me sitting here now today thinking, oh, crikey, I've done 19. You know, and that can be a little bit upsetting. And Lorraine and I have discussed amongst ourselves, and also with our group of dementia peers and other facilitators, we need, I can't think of the right phrase, we need counsellors that are specifically dementia trained. Now that might sound, well, why do they need to be specifically dementia trained? Counselling is all about making you look back and then verifying, why are you thinking in certain ways? Well, if this counsellor is not specifically dementia trained, they're going to be thinking, oh, well, how can I believe what they're saying? Because they might not really be remembering the past correctly. So it's a weird thing. Lorraine.
Yeah, that's a subject that is really close to my heart. Why isn't there a psychologist or a counsellor that understands dementia? Because unfortunately, and I've experienced myself, childhood sort of dilemmas or upsets or everything, they come to the fore when you have dementia, because all the filters are gone and it just opens up a can of worms. So you need to go to a specialist to talk about this. But as far as I know, there isn't one. If you can say, yes, there is, I'd like to see one, just so that we can, people with dementia with these issues can actually speak to a specialist dealing with dementia in psychology.
Can I just, oh, Wayne, go for it.
Just as Lorraine said, there was only, in the last decade, there was only one specialist counsellor or psychologist in dementia. She was in Scotland, so not exactly local or any use to us. She was in Scotland, but she retired 7 years ago. I think she was about 80 something by then, so she deserved to retire. But nobody's filled the gap. There is nobody now able to perform that role, and so we rely on each other.
And thank you, Wayne. Thank you, Lorraine. I just wanted to, just from a educational point of view, from my own personal experiences, I actually had somebody who was interested in joining as a student to this course, and their main interest was counselling, so psychotherapy, counselling, but they wanted to do it for people with dementia and family carers. So they wanted to have aspects of this course to be with their counselling course. So just as a matter of interest, you know, I think, you know, there are people that are interested in both fields, and they do see that there is that sort of gap. So, you know, the hope is there. There are people that are coming up and wanting and recognizing that that's an important area. But obviously, you know, the education around that, you know, I don't think there's many counselling courses. Though she was telling me there wasn't many counselling courses that had the dementia element. So she personally was going for the counselling courses and then looking for the dementia element as a bolt-on. So, which is obviously something that this course can do. So, which is great. But yeah, it's.
Thank you for sharing that. That's hopeful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that, April, for that question, and that's really helpful. And anybody else got a question for memorabilia before we move on? Yeah, I think everyone's asked their questions now. So shall we move on to the campaign list, which the students should have access to already, should have had that and had a good look at it and hopefully digested some of it. What shall I bring it up briefly on the screen? Would that be helpful? Yeah, that'd be okay for everyone. Okay, let me just find where I put it. Here we are.
Would it be any use, Laura, or better for, oh no, it doesn't really make any difference. I was going to say, if I was to share it on my screen, then you still get to see everybody while it's on the screen for the discussion, but it's still taking up so much of the screen, we can't really see each other, can we?
Yeah, so I'll just flash it up briefly just so that students can see what I'm referring to, and then we can sort of swap and change. I've got two screens here, Wayne, so I'm all right. I can see you and I can see the thing, so so I'm all right. I'm well set up. I've just flashed up. We've got 10 minutes left, so we're going to have a quick look at this and then we can come back to discussion. So there we are. Can you see that okay?
Yes.
Yes.
And make it better. Thank you. Need to make it bigger.
Excuse me.
There we go. So just for the students' sake, this is what we're looking at, this particular document, and this is the campaigning that Memorabilia have been doing over time, and you will see it's quite some document, and it does go on over a few pages. So and I don't think this is exhaustive, is it, Wayne, Lorraine and Rick?
No way.
So there is lots more that they have done, but this is, you know, obviously summing up some of the things that they have been doing. So that I just wanted just to flash that up on the screen so you can see what we're referring to, and students, you should have that, and if you don't have it in front of you, you can access it via your Blackboard to find that. Does any of the students have it up in front of them? Can they just give me a thumbs up if they do? You do, Precious. Eleanor, do you have it? Yeah, you do. April? You're finding it by looks of it, and Kajal, you've got it. Good, brilliant. Okay, so I'll come off of share so that we can see each other again. And Wayne, did you want to take over from me, or?
In a way, yes. I know from one of your emails, Laura, we do so many, but I even think that you're part of Memorabilia now, you see. I'm
an honorary member, am I?
Yes, a very honourable member, yes.
Honourable.
So I know that you know, we tried to sort of trim it down, and basically I in the end I had to throw it back to you, because, you know, as spokesperson for the students at that time, you would know better than we would of what they need to be or would want to be spending the time upon. They're here now, so they could, you know, speak for themselves if there's anything outside of the three that you chose. But yes, I think we need to focus on the three sections that you kind of mostly wanted us to focus on, Laura. So with just under 7 minutes to go, we can at least start talking about Medway Council and the various things over the last decade that we've done for Medway Council, our own local council. And before throwing over to Lorraine, I just want to say a bit that's not on here, but where we kind of first got involved with them. I can't remember the guy's name without going and looking, but an MP from Downing Street was coming down to Medway, and they wanted somebody with dementia to do a talk to him about how Medway Council are good with dementia and what they spend the money on. And they asked me. So I went and I did a great talk, and there was all the dignitaries and this Medway Council big hall, and this guy who I can't remember who he was, and spoke about all the things that Medway Council do and things that they were planning on doing, blah, blah, blah. And he eventually said that he thought that was absolutely wonderful. Could he take me back with him up to Parliament so that we could get the whole country doing these things instead of just Medway, which was rather nice, but it never happened. Lorraine has had more chance than I for that sort of thing, with trips to Parliament and Downing Street and Ministry of Justice. But there we go.
Nice one.
Yes, I think that was really the start of memorabilia's connection, or close connection, with Medway Council. And from that has come so many little bits and pieces where they're always getting in touch and asking us for advice on this and that and the other. And Lorraine does lots of advice with the education department, the adult education department. So Medway Council's adult education department. I'll let Lorraine talk about that. I'm just sort of watching the clock and sort of filling up the time so I can set the scene, and then we can come back in with Lorraine taking over. But Lorraine has done all sorts of inspections and over, to do with the council. Most importantly, I suppose, to do with the emphasis these days from society or professionals being on people's well-being, their health, their fitness, their diet, and that sort of thing. So for Medway Council to come to us and ask, could somebody go to the local sports centres and give them a good looking over and make sure that they are fit, strange word to use, isn't it? That they are suitable, that's better. They're suitable for the purposes that people with dementia need, so that these people with dementia will go and use all these facilities, either at greatly reduced rates or even for free, to keep us physically active and healthy. I mean, it's becoming more and more known nowadays, and you see adverts on the TV and things like that, where they say about what's good for your body is good for your brain. What's good for your heart is good for your brain. So by eating the right things and staying fit and healthy, not only are you looking after your heart and your body, you're looking after your brain. So of course, if you've already got a damaged brain, that's even more important, And Lorraine has done some great work on that, that when we come back, Lorraine can show us and tell us all about. Was that a good filler?
I don't know if it was a filler. It was wonderful. Thanks, Wayne. That's really important. It's really important, everything you said. And it really does take us nicely into Lorraine's section, but we will need to come off of Zoom at that point. Just give it, we just have a 5-minute break while we'll let the time go down, and then we'll restart the session again, because otherwise we don't want to start at the end of this session again. So just a 5-minute little break, if that's okay, and then we'll come back for our final session of the morning to just continue our discussion. Is that all right with everyone? Everyone okay?
Brilliant.
We come back 5 to 12.
Pardon?
5 to 12.
5 to 12, yeah. So 11:55, Precious. I say that because Precious got confused when I said something similar yesterday. Okay, all right then, see you later. Bye. See you in a minute. Bye.
Bye.